I wanted to share a few tips on the subject of choosing a guitar teacher or even a music teacher in general, because it can be a bit of a minefield if that's the sort of route that you're going down. The reason I've decided to talk about it today was I had a conversation with one of my students I've been working with for maybe a couple of months or so, and it came out with a really lovely comment to me that I was really sort of flattered by. And he said that he'd had a teacher previously, and he didn't feel like he was learning very well and wasn't getting along and all the rest of it. And he said that he found working with me to be a lot more beneficial to them, which it was great to hear. Obviously, you love to get great feedback, but more importantly than that, because it's not about me, it's about the student, it's great to know that he's been able to get some benefit from it. So, and this isn't about promoting myself or selling my lessons. This is about, it made me think, well, what might have gone wrong there? Why perhaps was he not getting the benefit from his previous lessons? I don't know who the other teacher was. I would never ever criticise any other teacher. I'm sure that everybody, or 99% of people that are teaching music, are doing it for the right reasons from a pure place. But there's a few things that might go wrong, and there's a few things that you might want to sort of look out for when you're choosing who to learn music with. The first thing that I would point out that I would say is the most important aspect of a teaching learning relationship is the interpersonal part of it. Do you get along, and are you understanding what they're saying to you, and are you able to work together? Forget about how many guitars they might have or how much fancy gear they might have or anything like that. It's really important that you've got some kind of a connection there that you feel is working for you. And particularly if you're paying for lessons, if you're going for weekly lessons and handing over your money and you feel like you're not getting anywhere, then maybe you should think, probably your first port of call is, if you've got an existing teacher and you feel it's not quite how it should be, have the conversation. Any decent, self-respecting music teacher will be quite open to discussing any concerns that you've got if you don't feel that you're picking things up as you should be, or you don't feel that things are going the way that they should be. So your first protocol would be, to have that conversation openly and honestly. They won't be offended. I wouldn't be offended. I also have, I mentioned, this lovely comments that I had today. I've also had occasions where students said to me, "Look, Matt, I don't know. I'm not really getting this. I don't know what's happening." And we can work from there, and we can try and change things up. Everyone learns in different ways. If you cast your mind back to when you were in school learning, from your school teachers, you had a maths teacher, English teacher, science teacher, all these others, and I'm sure that you will find, if you think back, that some of the teachers you had in school you related to a little bit more than some of the other ones. Regardless of whether you're interested in the subject or topic, you'll find that just the way that they were and the way that they got on with you, you might just relate better to them, and that's a better atmosphere for learning. So you want to try and make sure that you've got those basics there. Again, forget about all the fancy stuff, the gear and the guitars, or how fast they can play and impressive they sound. A decent teacher won't be bothered about of all that stuff. It'll be about providing you with a good learning experience. So if you haven't yet chosen a teacher, if you're not working with one and you're looking to do so, don't be afraid to shop around and meet a few different teachers, and you'll be able to get an impression yourself as to the type of relationship you can have with them, because it's all about you. If you're the one that's handing over your money and wanting to learn, you want to be getting the best value and the best experience you can, because if you're not doing that, A, you're wasting your money, B, you're wasting your time, and C, worst case scenario, it could even put you off the instrument. So make sure that you've got the best teacher that you feel is right for you. It might not necessarily be the cheapest one or the one that's nearest to where you live. Sometimes you might have to put in that little bit of extra effort to be able to get the right sort of service that you want. But don't assume that just because it's not working out with you with a particular teacher, that guitar lessons aren't for you. As with anything else, have a shop around and make sure that you go into lessons comfortable, happy, and that you feel like you're actually getting help every time. And if you're not, if you're already taking lessons, as I've said, have that conversation with your teacher. Look, I'm sorry, pal. This just doesn't seem to be. I'm not getting this, and I feel like each week I'm not progressing or whatever. If someone, the 1%, if they turn around and start putting it back onto you, oh well, you're not practicing, you're not doing this, you're not doing that, and if you know that you are, if you're putting your effort in, then perhaps it might be time to have a think about, having a change, having a look around. The other thing that came up as well, apart from, which teacher to choose, is, do I need to have a actual guitar teacher? There's so much stuff out there on the internet and online these days. When I first started learning, there was no internet, basically. That's showing my age off. But there's so much stuff there on YouTube and other channels, and a lot of the official things like Fender have got their own sort of learning thing, the guitar manufacturer Fender. There's loads of resources out there, and I always tell my students, look at as much stuff as you can. Look at everybody else's YouTube channels. Don't just look at mine, because every player is different and you can learn something from every other player. So just in terms of actually looking at the information, more is better, and you'll be able to see for yourself the ones that are helpful for you and the ones that maybe aren't so helpful for you. Don't always get carried away. Again, like I said about a teacher having all the loads of guitars and fancy equipment, don't get carried away with how flashy the videos are. And I'm not just saying that because mine are quite basic, but what's important is the information that you're getting, not how much time they spent editing the transitions and type stuff. Just concentrate on the content and make sure that you're happy learning from that content. Can you learn only using online resources and books and things like that? You probably can, but there's just one drawback that I would bring to your attention, is that it's a one-way process doing it that way. I've seen a lot of these videos because trying to make my channel as good as I can, I like to look at other teaching channels and other channels that are similar to mine and offer similar services, and that there's some really fantastic channels out there, some really good players, some fantastic teachers. So there's loads of great stuff out there for anybody looking to learn. But if you're doing it only that way and you don't have actually someone in person to help you, the thing that you're really missing out on is the feedback aspect of it, whereby if you're doing something wrong, if you've got a bad technique, then that might not quite be picked up on. You'll be trying to play along and copy what they're doing on the video. A lot of the good ones, I've not got to the stage yet, but they've got the tab and all the rest of it with it. So you're trying to follow that as best you can, but you won't be able to normally get any feedback from the teacher or from whoever's producing the content as to whether or not you're doing things correctly and doing things right. I know for myself, and it'll be the same for any other teacher that you're working with in person, they'll be able to observe what you're doing, and if there's something that's not quite right, or if your finger's in the wrong place, or your hand's up here when it should be here, any kind of thing like that, they'll be able to correct you to stop you picking up bad habits and stop you developing problems that might stick with you for a long time. So that's the key benefit to actually having an individual tailored teaching experience. Now, with that being said, just because it's in person, face to face in a room, there's other ways of doing it nowadays with technology. You can have, and I've seen a lot of other channels, some really fantastic teachers who offer online sort of video lessons, so like Zoom or these type of things, where you can go on video conference and they can be teaching you at the same time. They can be looking at what you're doing. So that's a definite step up, doing something like that rather than just trying to learn and copy off the internet. So if you can get any kind of feedback from somebody else who'll be able to help you and say, oh, hang on a minute, you're trying to make that chord, you'd be better off just trying to, and when I'm working, I actually sort of pick my students' fingers up and say, no, that wants to be there, move your hand a little bit like that type of thing, because that's the most efficient way to get the muscle memory and get the point across. But at least if you've got someone you're working with that can see what you're doing, even if they can't place your fingers for you, they can give you tips. Or what you need to do is move your first finger a little bit higher up, or blah blah blah. Or I've noticed when you're picking that your hand's at a funny angle like that when it should be like that. At least you can get that type of feedback. So don't forget, when you're learning, you want to make sure the experience is all about you and developing your playing and your skills. If you don't feel like you're getting somewhere, then perhaps you might be thinking about making a change to what you're doing. As I said, this isn't a promotional video. I'm not saying, oh, everybody sack your teacher and come to me. Obviously, everyone on the internet, you're all in different places all over the world, so that doesn't really work. I've got quite plenty of students at the minute anyway, so I'm not that bothered about that. But it's just to benefit you, give you a little bit of advice. So, and I'd say the same to my students. If I had a student that was saying, like, we've tried everything and it's just not working out for me, I would tell them perhaps you should try looking for a different teacher, because maybe it's just you and I don't have that sort of connection to be able to do learning. And as I say, any teacher that's that's worth the salt and is committed to the students will be absolutely honest with you. If you're not getting anywhere and you're not progressing, they should be able to say, in those circumstances, perhaps it's not working. Perhaps we should look at doing something else. I hope that's useful for you. Enjoy.